right, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 1983 Renault Le Car. Up front is a 1.4 liter inline four that is carbureted, and down below is a 4-speed manual transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving Le Car for a bunch of reasons. First of all, this is the first French car I've ever driven. This is the first Renault I've ever driven, obviously. And these are so rare. This car is so low mileage at only 48,000 miles on the clock. They're unique, they're different, they're something you just don't see anymore, and I'm excited to bring that to you guys today. I do have a website, zackpradel.com. If you'd like to buy merch, check out my blog from all of my posts and see all the cars that I'm reviewing down here in Florida. And you can submit your own vehicle for review, and that is zackpradel.com. That helps out the channel. But let's get back to Le Car. The 1.4 liter makes like 50 some horsepower. It's very, very slow. This was an economy car. This wasn't anything crazy or special, and back in the day, these were used and thrown away. Much like the Yugo, which I reviewed last year, and I'll be comparing quite frequently. That being said, it got 28 miles to the gallon in the city and 35 miles to the gallon on the highway. Not bad. And the actual driving experience, I mean, it's a beautiful sunny day. I don't really have anywhere to be, so I'm enjoying it. Will you win if you race someone at the stoplights? No. No, you will not. But will you bring a smile to those when you park the car? Yes, you will. And that's what counts. Like I said, paired to a 4-speed manual transmission, pretty easy to shift. The engine is pretty rev happy. It takes a lot less revs than you would think to get going. A lot less gas, I should say. And the manual is just a 4-speed, feels nice and solid, honestly. Gear changes, very, very solid. The clutch feels really good. Honestly, I have no complaints with the trans. Last but not least, of course, it is front-wheel drive. With that out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, my gauge cluster is rather sparse. On the left is my speedometer that does have 55 miles an hour highlighted in yellow. If you'd like to see my mini documentary about why that is, you can click that little tab in the upper right-hand corner. But that's an 80s car thing. To the right, I have more 80s car things, with the warning lights being very, very visible even during the day. And I have a little warning light for my oxygen sensor, which I think is kind of interesting. Then I have a tiny little fuel gauge down at the bottom. The steering wheel doesn't have anything on it besides the Renault logo, and I will be referring to this car as a Renault from here on out because I'm not quite sure if it's Renault, Renault, whatever it is. So Renault will do. But it does have a little French horn. Not the musical instrument, like a car horn. I love it! To the left of the gauge cluster, I do have like defrost and fan speed and my hazards. The horn is on the stalk, as well as my headlights, and it says unleaded fuel only. Down by my left knee, I do have a choke because this is a carbureted car. It does have a choke, and it does not have a power retracting choke, so you have to do that manually. On the door, I have my latch to get in and out, as well as my manual windows. Moving into the center, I have a giant climate control vent, a little storage area, and my climate controls themselves. These are very, very 70s to me. This sort of thick plastic, that font, seems very 70s. I also do have a little ashtray and cigarette lighter, a tiny shelf, and an aftermarket stereo. Down on the center console, I just have the shifter, which interestingly enough, the shift pattern is slanted. It doesn't feel any different from any other manual transmission when driving, but kind of interesting that they slant it. And then I have the handbrake, and that's it. And unfortunately, the center stack does not contain a cup holder, so since it doesn't have one, the Renault Le Car fails the big friggin' bottle test. The seats are actually decently comfortable, and that actually ties in with the ride quality as well. The ride quality is a lot better than I would think. Is it a Rolls Royce? Not quite, but for a little economy car from the 80s, it actually rides really, really nice. But speaking of seats, we do have back seats, surprisingly, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, getting in the back of Le Car. Honestly, it's not terrible. Definitely been in worse. Definitely been in better, but for a coupe and for an economy car, fantastic. Same sort of deal with the Yugo, is that it's a lot more spacious than you'd think. Am I saying it's spacious? No. but it's more spacious than you might think, and these seats are pretty comfortable. Honestly, not bad at all, and I get to enjoy this soft top, which we'll talk about in a second, fully from back here. Let's go take a quick look at the trunk, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of Le Car, got this nice big plunger we can open. And of course, you got to keep all your stuff on hand. This is really cool, the Le Car manual. Super, super unique there. Really, really cool stuff. Pretty big size trunk. Now, of course, this is front engine, but they did make a turbo model that was mid-engine rear wheel drive. That is not this, but very, very sizable trunk, especially for an economy car. Not a whole lot of crash safety standards, but a lot of trunk space nevertheless. Now we got to talk about the looks, and this is unmistakably French. The front is like bland, but in a cute way. I don't really even know how to properly describe it, but it's just so unapologetically Renault, and I love that. I love Renaults, apparently. I do also want to talk about the top. This is a rag top, so there's a little release up top, and you can take this sunshade off. It's just a cloth sunshade, and have a little bit of an open top French experience. How cool is that? But now let's get to my final thoughts here on the Le Car. Well, I have a bunch. First of all, let's talk about a little bit of history of Renault in the US. Renault came to the US in the late 70s with the Le Car. The Le Car lasted from 1976 to 1983. This was the final year that they sold Le Cars and made Le Cars here in the States. Overseas, in France, it was called the Renault 5, but here they named it the Le Car because Le Car in French means the car. Except it doesn't. Actually translated with Google Translate, a modern translating system that seems to be the relative industry standard, it comes out to the bus. That's right. So that was just some American marketing scheme. People bought this and thought, oh, it's so French. I love French fries. And I got the French car. That was a terrible accent. I'm sorry. I wiped that. Editor, cut that out. But that's the thing, is that it came to the US market as a very weird and quirky vehicle, which most French cars are. And they were actually mostly sold at AMC dealers, American Motor Cars, which then went defunct at the end of the 80s and dissolved into Chrysler. But Renault only sold a handful of cars here. They sold the Renault Le Car and two other models I'm blanking on at the moment. And so they didn't really catch on here. They were put in the same category as the Yugo, which, car for car, this is impressively better than a Yugo. It was even made fun of in a Saturday Night Live sketch featuring Phil Hartman. They called it the Adobe, and it was a car made out of clay, and it was so cheap. And so it wasn't really taken seriously. And when a car isn't taken seriously, it doesn't sell. And when it doesn't sell, they leave the market. Because why stay if the boat's already sinking? So after a little over a decade, Renault pulled back out of the US market. They didn't really see much of a point. And with it, they took this little piece of joy. This fun, entertaining little car. I love this little Le Car. Sure, it's not the actual correct French translation, but I don't care. It's fun to drive. I'm having a blast. You don't see them anymore. It's a fun piece of history. And I mean, what more can you want? All said and done, I'm so glad I was given the opportunity to drive the Le Car. It's just, it's so cool. I love this thing. I really, really do. Huge thank you to Matt for letting me take out his Renault Le Car. All of his information is found in the description below, his social medias and whatnot. Please go check him out, give him a follow, send him a message, tell him I say hello, and thank you for letting me review all of his awesome, sweet cars. At the end of this video, I will leave my Yugo review if you guys would like to check that one out, and compare another 80s economy car from a foreign land. And I hope you guys enjoy that one. But hope you guys enjoyed this one. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.